we've actually got a theme. Yes, an overriding theme to the playoffs that involve teams and that involves the players that they've selected, that they've chosen over the years, mostly in free agency. And the reason I'm doing this at this particular time is because the two teams leading their respective league championship series, and I know it's not over yet, the two teams leading are two teams that picked the right guys. I'm talking about the Phillies and I'm talking about the Rangers. Now, you can also include the Astros in this. They've been mostly extending players of their own over the years, not particularly participating in free agency, but they have made great choices. They've got a big payroll, but I really want to focus on the Phillies and Rangers because these are teams, unlike the Mets, unlike the Yankees, unlike the Padres, unlike these big money teams that flopped this year, these are teams that have succeeded because of the players that they chose. And I want to start off talking today about really the guy who has become our generation's Mr. October. And I'm talking about Bryce Harper. And while on the bus last night from Houston to Dallas, yes, Fox, we took a big party bus and we had a blast. While on the bus, I kind of looked at some comparisons. And I want to start here with Bryce Harper and how he compares to two, I would call them legends of the game, Reggie Jackson and Babe Ruth. Let's start with Bryce. These are Bryce's career postseason statistics. They're incredible. 43 games, slash line, 292 batting average, 352 on base, 652 slug, 15 home runs in 161 at bats. You prorate that over 640 at bats, which is basically a regular season, a 162 game season. That's a 60 home run pace. All right, that's Bryce Harper in the postseason. Here's Babe Ruth. Now, the qualifier with the Babe, of course, is that he played only in the World Series. There were no expanded playoffs back then. Played in 41 games, a comparable number to Bryce Harper. Even better slash line, 326 batting, 470 on base, 744 slug, 15 home runs in 129 at bats. Now, those numbers are, I would say, better than Bryce's, but Bryce is at least in the same conversation. And here's Reggie Jackson, played in the most postseason games by far of any of these three players. 278, 358, 527 his slash line, 18 home runs in 281 at bats. Again, the point is not to say Bryce Harper is a better player in the postseason than Reggie Jackson or Babe Ruth. All I'm saying is that his statistics are relatively comparable. The Phillies gave him 13 years, $330 million. And at the time, I remember writing, all he wanted to do was beat Giancarlo Stanton, $325 million. And he's taking this deal and he's taking a low AAV. And you know what? I was wrong. Bryce said at the time he wanted to be in Philly. He has proven to be an amazing Philadelphia Philly. And he is not alone. This team invested in Kyle Schwarber. Yes. This team invested in Nick Castellanos. Yes, again. And let's look at Zach Wheeler, who has been their game one starter 4 times in the past 2 seasons. And as Jason Stark wrote today in his Weird and Wild column in The Athletic, he's got some of the best game one numbers in Major League history for a guy with 4 or more game one starts. Here is Zach Wheeler's postseason career. This is a guy who signed a 5-year, $118 million contract that expires after next season. 2.63 ERA in 54 2/3 innings. That's pretty good. Opponent's slash line, 156 batting average, 206 on base, 240 slug. And his whip, that's walks and hits per inning pitch, it's 0.7. That's the lowest in any 9-start span in postseason history. That stat comes from the great Sarah Langs. That's amazing performance. Now, we go over to the Texas Rangers. We start with Corey Seager, who is a hitting robot, $325 million. Marcus Semien, one of the great durable character players in our game and a pretty good hitter himself and fielder, $175 million. And the guy on the mound yesterday, the guy who escaped a bases-loaded, nut-out jam in the 5th inning and put together another brilliant postseason performance. Yes, I'm talking about Nathan Evoldi. Nathan Evoldi was out with right forearm tightness for a time in August, came back in early September without a rehab assignment. First start against the Houston Astros at Globe Life, gets rocked. Didn't pitch all that consistently in September, But here we are in October, and here we go again with Mr. Evoldi. Let's look at his postseason numbers because they too, like Wheeler's, are impressive. Nathan Evoldi on a 2-year, $34 million free agent deal, 9 starts in the postseason for his career, 2.87 ERA in 62 and 2/3 innings. That's pretty darn good. Opponent slash line, well, it's not as good as Wheeler's, but it's pretty good. 211, 240, 304. This is impressive postseason performance. This is what you want when you pay players big money. Nathan Evoldi's not in Simeon's category and Seager's category as far as the financials. And yes, I know the Rangers paid Jacob deGrom $185 million, and he had Tommy John surgery almost immediately. No team is perfect in free agency. In fact, it's probably more common to be wrong in free agency than it is to be right, to get not as much value out of those contracts as you really should. That's okay. That's what happens. But these two teams have demonstrated that you can spend big in free agency and you can do rather well.